These days, another neighborhood is up for redevelopment, Union Square. For more than a decade, there have been meetings and reports and studies on the changes to come.
Yes, but now things are really moving forward. With the Green Line extension to the square slated for 2017 and City Hall's announcement that it is looking for a single developer for the square, the looming changes appear closer than ever before. Somerville Neighborhood News Director Jane Regan takes a look, beginning with a meeting on November 18th at the Argenziano School.
The meeting was a chance to hear from city officials and from the firm that will be designing Union Square's streetscape and making changes to the way traffic moves through the square and to the way that water and sewers run underneath it.
We really want to make this a great place that people absolutely love. Some of the goals that we're going to be doing are increasing bikeability, walkability, making Union Square completely accessible, reducing the reliance on the automobile, just making the streetscape better in every way. And right in the heart
Rachel Burkhart from Parsons Brinkerhoff was also on hand. The firm was chosen for the $700,000 contract to do a new study and to prepare the first 25% of the new design. That plan will then go before the Mass Department of Transportation for approval.
What we're going to be doing here is going over some of the previous studies. There's been a lot of processes associated with Union Square, some good ideas, some not so good ideas. It happens to be on a desire line, as we call it, which is basically the shortest way between two places.
Burkhart and city officials asked people to give feedback and advice on little yellow stickies.
I wrote down that I'd like to see a safer bike route on Prospect Street because whenever I bike to Union Square, I feel really unsafe.
Most ideas concerned people's desire to preserve the square's historic buildings, open space, and to make biking and walking easier.
Put up this one that just shows kind of what I like and what I would like to have maintained here in Union Square, because I love the fact that there's open space and we have like the Fluff Festival and Oak the Farms Work and all that stuff, and I really want to keep that.
Concern about too many trucks and not enough room for bikers and pedestrians. These were a few of the issues raised by the people who attended the November 18th meeting at the Argenziano School. Reporting for Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Jane Regan.
We noticed that many local business owners weren't at the meeting, so we sent out a team to ask them what they would have said had they been there.
In your point of view, what improvements can be made to the parking, biking, and traffic situation here in Union Square?
Se podría mejorar más el parqueo, no hay suficiente parqueo para la gente. Un kiosco para traer música, la gente se interesa en venir a escuchar la música y después de la música venir a los negocios, no es solo un solo negocio. Sí se puede poner más luces para que los carros se paren y que la gente pueda cruzar.
I believe the bicycles are very important right now for the city, but we have a little problem at Union Square. So once we don't have parking enough for customers, and last summer they installed one hack bike just in front of my store. Now I have only 2 spots available, and one of them I have a lady that from one store close to us. She has a handicap plate. She used the spot the whole day for her. Now all our customers from all the restaurants here, they fight for only one spot available. And this year they install again. It's still outside if you check. I asked them, please move the spark for the other side of the street once we have just one spot available here. This, I think, gonna help us here.
What improvements would you like to see here in Union Square?
One of the things that I wanted to mention is the way that they designed the parking in Block 11 Cafe. It's caused traffic in there, so it's sideways. I think it should be the other way around. And the other thing is that if the city can help us, for example, the loading zone. I own 2 restaurants here, and I take more than 20 minutes to upload my products, and I always get ticketing here. And another thing is that parking is really tough.
It's not too many parkings. It's a parking area here, so it's good for my business and then good for my customer. So I think it's the parking space, and then very crowded here. So the kids, when the kids go to school, it's really traffic here, but nobody here. Nobody control the traffic, so that is really problem.
Et ça qui est important dans Union Square, parce que nous avons un problème parking. Parking est un gros problème lié. C'est-à-dire si tout est ouvert pour mettre plus parking, c'est très important. Nous avons besoin d'un côté pour tout owner Union Square, ou du moins, si on travaille Union Square, et mettre machine, parce que pas ça, surtout dans parking dans la rue. Union Square is beautiful. Donc, voyez ça, elle est vraiment très belle. Et moi, il y a plus de choses à venir. Et surtout, je pense que il y a un train qui besoin de faire arriver là. Ça veut dire que Union Square va avancer. C'est nous-mêmes qui pouvons avancer ensemble, les gens qui habitent dans la zone et surtout les gens qui ont un business dans la zone.
Let's hope all the changes don't take away from the great diversity we have here in Union Square.
To find out more about the plans, we invited Mimi Graney, Executive Director of Union Square Main Streets, into the studio.
Hi, Mimi. Thanks a lot for coming down. I know that you work with Union Square Main Streets, and the reason I invited you is exactly to talk about Union Square. A lot of things are being talked about in the Boston Globe, WBUR. There are meetings all over the place. As you saw, we covered one recently about infrastructure. Can you help us navigate what's going on here and what changes are coming down the pike?
Well, the big picture is we're trying to bring Union Square back to being a transit-oriented neighborhood. We grew up in this neighborhood, like the rest of Somerville, as a streetcar suburb. Somerville, Union Square at one stage had 108 trolleys stopping here each day. So the central business district grew up where you could walk around to the different stores. If you lived here in the neighborhood, you would be able to walk to all the houses nearby, walk and hop on the train to go to other neighborhoods or to your job. So with the coming of the Green Line, we're looking at returning back to that density and cleaning up a lot of the industrial and auto-related uses that have grown up here over the last couple decades.
So it's part of a big plan that's sometimes called the redevelopment plan. And well, that reminds me of another thing that's been in the media lately. It's this idea that City Hall has thrown out there saying that they want to go with a single developer for a bunch of spots around the square that they hope will either be sold in a friendly manner or that they might take over by eminent domain.
The Union Square revitalization plan that the city put forward identified a bunch of parcels that are in need of particular transformation. So those areas are really centered around where this future Green Line stop is going to be under the bridge on Prospect Street. So it looks at all these parcels along Somerville Avenue where the scrap iron is and the radiator spot. What they sometimes call the civic block where the police and fire station is in Ricky's. A couple of the auto spots along Washington Street. This stretch along Somerville Avenue where the motorcycle spot is, and then the Citizens Bank and the parking lot. So those are all spots that really aren't living up to their potential, that we could have a lot more housing, a lot more jobs. So by gathering those together, that we can help meet some of those bigger goals that we've got. So that revitalization plan said we want to take these by, the city's sort of threatening to take them by eminent domain. The hope initially was that folks would either develop them or sell to developers, but hoping that folks would kind of start working together. We're not necessarily seeing a lot of partnerships kind of organically happen. The city's now put out a request for qualifications for a master developer. And the goal would be that one single developer would help coordinate all this. Now, folks in the community, the things I'm hearing are concerns around transparency, about neighborhood character, both in terms of the local independently owned businesses, but also character of design. Folks are concerned about the lack of engagement with the process. And folks, nobody really likes eminent domain. So some of those concerns are going to be true whether we have a single developer or a master developer. So with the master developer, there's actually some advantages over lots of individual developers. We're more likely by having a larger master developer that's going to help redevelop some of these areas that couldn't be developed individually. So for example, along Prospect Street, where we've got all these polluted areas, you can't clean up the individual spots. They really have to happen together.
I see.
And then we're also, if we're caring about sort of having affordability in open space, it doesn't make sense for each individual spot to try to have their own parking or even set up shared parking, like where's the central parking garage going to be? I know we're not trying to emphasize cars, but recognizing there is going to need to be some parking in the neighborhood. And to have it kind of coalesce. So for example, if we're wanting to have cultural uses or spots that are going to have lower rents, if it's going to be a smaller business or a locally owned business, we're going to need places that have higher rents to be able to help pay for some of the lower rent spots. So this helps balance that all out. So there is going to be a community advisory committee that's going to inform the city in their selection of who they think is the most qualified candidate, and will help craft that agreement with the developer. So this is sort of, it's like we're courting and we're looking for a new partner, and we're helping to say, like, this is our wish list of who we're looking for in a partner, and helping to craft that agreement. And this is only the beginning of what's hopefully going to be a long and fruitful marriage, and that it's going to be an ongoing dialogue. So each of the individual parcels as they develop under this master developer still have to go through the planning process and the zoning process and the design process, and that will in some ways be able to collectively help support those values that we're looking to see manifested in the neighborhood.
This committee, has it been chosen yet? Is it self-selecting? And once it's set up, will there be a way that residents and business people can be influencing the committee and saying, hey, committee, I wish that you would put a little bit more emphasis here or there?
There was a call for people to nominate themselves or be nominated for this committee. That list is being finalized and is going to become public shortly. I'm not quite sure what the whole process is going to be yet of how that committee is going to work. That hasn't the process hasn't begun, but I'm sure that it's my understanding that committee is a pretty broad selection of stakeholders, and I can imagine that those folks are going to be people that are already known and that are going to be open to hearing what community issues are.
Thanks a lot for coming down and sharing the information that you have. As you know, SCAD is right here in Union Square, so whatever role we can play by at least hosting programs that talk about this or hosting meetings, I'm sure we want to be part of the process.